are we going to be showing?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the iRacing Today radio show. Once my microphone is actually not muted, you can actually hear me. So hope everybody's out there having a grand old time. We're trying a new experiment with some new audio equipment, some new video equipment, some all exciting things, and Chad's over there. You can actually see him, and he's used to not actually being seen on camera until he starts talking, but you can see him, and he's not talking yet. So my name is Trevor Cameron. This is the iRacing Today radio show for July the 17th, 2014. And I have Chad here with me as per usual, and hopefully this grand experiment, works out okay with everybody. So how are you doing tonight, Chad?
There's so much going on.
I know there's so many buttons, there's so many windows. You know, we've made this hobby way too complicated. Like we can't help but fail. Basically, what we've done is we just made it so complicated that the only answer is to fail because we just keep adding layers upon layers. I mean, We're streaming upon streams to the other stream and recording here, and I don't even know what's going on anymore, man. Do you know what's going on?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, great. So,
Nope.
well, we're unprepared. I hope you guys are prepared to watch us be unprepared. And the video should be weird because you got both me and Chad on screen at the same time for those who partake in this in the video format. And it's going to be interesting because I'm going to have to remember that I'm on camera 100% of the time. So that's going to make life a little bit interesting because now I can't, sit there and make faces while Chad's talking, because he can't see me and stuff like that. See, that is going to be all captured now. So, also I can't flail my arms as much because my microphone's right in the way. I'm going to have to make some adjustments on that, but this is as good as I get it for tonight, and I'm going to do some different stuff as well. And you can still hear my daughter, but hopefully that has cleared up a little bit, although this microphone should help with some of those issues. But anyway, we're here to talk about iRacing, not our video issues. But if assuming this all worked and you guys are seeing us and hearing us, then we'd appreciate some feedback and let us know how this is all working out for you and how much louder or softer my daughter is now that she's still up there thumping. We've got to figure out a new record time, because if we do, then maybe my daughter's not going to bed. That might be helpful. I don't know.
Yeah, might be. We should record at like what, 3 in the morning. Think she'll be in bed by then?
It maybe, but then again, so will I.
Okay.
So
I would be, because it would be 5 a.m. where I am.
well, you'd be just getting up. It'd be nice and bright and early and ready to go, man. That'd be exciting.
Yeah, woo! iRacing Today Radio. I'm going to break away and have some cereal real quick.
Indeed. But anyway, this is, believe it or not.
Just for the record, we look really good on there.
Excellent. I mean, I always look good. The only problem I have with this setup, and I'm going to have to adjust it, is the fact that my wonderful beard, although it's not trimmed very well today, is hidden by my pop filter, and that's just not acceptable. I'm going to have to adjust my camera angle or something. But if I go over here, then you can't hear me as well, but you can see the beard, so that's exciting. So anyway,
Yeah.
growing pains, man, growing pains.
All about that beard.
Oh yeah. But anyway. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 62nd episode of this show. I mean, that blows my mind, but it is show 62. I know there's bridge episodes and there's weird things and there's lost episodes.
No. But it's 62 since we've been doing this together. But you did 31 on your own, so
True.
we're almost to 100 all together. if you combine everything.
And if you include all my other failed experiments at podcasting, then I'm over 100 different podcasts that I've done myself, and then I did a bunch of nobody's listening. So I think I'm up for some sort of Emmy or whatever they do for podcasting. I'm it's a potty. No, that's probably not a good name for an award. I won a potty. Anyway, wow. But thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. We do appreciate it. And man, now I got your view is over here on this other screen, and now I'm going to keep looking at you as if you can see me looking at you. But actually, when I look at you, it looks like I'm looking away from you, and you can't see me at all.
I can't see you at all.
I know. This is so messed up. That's it. I quit. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm out of here too.
But thanks for tuning in and listening. Let's actually get into the show. What do you think? That sounds like a good idea.
Nah, I think we've covered everything we need to cover.
Yeah, that'll about do it for this week. So thanks everybody for listening to our audio video experience. It's not really a show.
But you didn't tell them the other thing that's happening.
I don't even know what the Twitch thing.
Yeah.
Well, I figured we were going to cover that when we got to the later on the show. Because if they're watching now, I mean, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, hey, you know what? If you're watching on YouTube right now, go to Twitch instead.
We could.
Okay. Backing
it's
it
not
up.
like they're going to miss a whole lot.
Okay. Let's back this up just a little bit here. I guess, okay, we'll cover this before we even tell you what's going on in the show. What we're doing is I've changed microphones, and that kind of hope changed some things around. So we've got some audio things that are different now. And I just whacked it, so I'm sure that came through on the audio. Great. See?
Not
Flailing hands.
Calm down, Trevor.
But on top of that, so we've now changed the way the video looks so you can get both of us on screen. I'm streaming on my YouTube channel so that that'll archive as per normal. Now, Chad is also streaming over this. He's rebroadcasting this over on the Twitch channel so you can see it over there. And at some point in time, I think if the streams kind of cross or something, then I don't know. I think the podcast studio explodes or something. I don't know. So if you go over to Chad's Twitch channel, like right now, if you just abandon my channel completely, and for the record, anybody listening to this on audio, ignore all this. This makes no sense because you're just you're just driving to work and saying, you know what, I like listening to Chad and Trevor to entertain me on the way into work. To say, you know what, I need some goodness in my ears before I hit the office chair and sit there and think about why I'm not iRacing. I need Chad and Trevor to get my day started. So if you're listening to that, great. We'll get to that part in a minute. But if you go over to Chad's Twitch channel, which is twitch.com/JustinTV/ I don't. No. Wow, I just know something on the video here that we've commented on how I am short. I'm a person of a lesser stature, and Chad is in real life taller than me. But if you actually look at the way we have the camera set up right now, Chad looks about 2 feet taller than me.
I just noticed it when you started talking.
Well, I guess it is technically appropriate, and I'm not going to adjust it now. So, viewers, do not adjust your channels. This is real life.
Yeah, this is what real life is like.
All right, so it's twitch.com?
TV.
Twitch.tv/ White Knight
Productions.
Is it White Knight Productions? White Knight Pro?
It's White Knight Productions now. I changed it from Pro because, I got to thinking that they probably didn't have a character limit because I just assumed they would. I didn't know anything about Twitch until this past week. So I did change it and managed to fix it up, and now it works. And, excuse me, life is good.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Okay, so have we got all that out of the way?
I think so.
Okay.
There's so much stuff going on, though, now. I mean, just like you said at the beginning, we are making this way too complicated.
Yep. This is
it's fun.
This is the most complicated hobby ever. You thought racing a virtual race car was hard. You should try to set up a 15 camera shoot for an audio podcast about racing virtual cars. That's when life gets hard.
Yeah, pretty much. He spoke the truth, ladies and gentlemen.
And you know what? Actually, and in fact, I have 3 video feeds. Like if I look at all my monitors, I can see Chad's face 3 times staring back at me into my soul. I can see myself once, Chad 3 times. So
I can see us twice.
excellent. So anyway, in all seriousness, we've been
So
talking
not
about
are we talking, but we're watching ourselves.
we have been talking about making some adjustments to the way things go, and through some research and doing a little bit of looking into, Chad kind of figured out that while we're going to be doing a little bit of actual racing stuff over on Twitch, some of our streams and stuff, we figured that moving over the show over to Twitch, in addition to what's already happening on YouTube, might help us get some new listeners in, because people are going to search for iRacing content. They will hopefully find us, and hopefully we can use this as an avenue to introduce some more people into the show and into iRacing and all that stuff. So hopefully we're just trying to improve our market share and hopefully bring the show to more people is the idea here.
I agree.
Excellent. So into the actual show. I mean, we're 11 minutes in. Let's talk about what we're actually going to talk about. And
Okay.
this week's show, we've got our normal In the News segment, which, of course, is the latest news from iRacing itself and our show. We've got our latest racing experiences, and fortunately, I've been home in the Rat Face production studios, so I've actually had a chance to actually get behind the wheel again, fortunately, which was fun. We're going to talk about our car of the week, which is the Skippy, otherwise known as the Skip Barber Formula 2000, but everybody calls it the Skippy anyway. And we're going to be talking about and we're going to have a bit of a rookie tip of the week, which kind of ties into my racing experiences. And anybody who actually watched my stream of the road race I did probably knows what's coming up. But I'll talk about a couple things that I learned and a couple things that it was actually good, because in my stream while I did the race, I had a few good examples, and some were here's what to do, here's what not to do. So it was a good experience, and we're going to tie the rookie tip of the week into that as well. So we will move on into our In the News segment, which is presented by iRacerStuff.com. iRacerStuff.com is a website dedicated to the iRacing motorsports simulation. They post things that they find interesting or that may be useful to the iRacing community. Check them out today at iRacerStuff.com.
Nice job.
Excellent.
Now, if you head on over to our website, which is www.iracingtodayradios.com, you can vote in our latest poll question, which is over there on the right-hand side of the page, the home page, and every other page. And that has to do with our upcoming fun race, which is probably going to be in August. We've had a pretty good turnout so far. This is picking out the day and the time that we are going to race. So make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you head over there and do a little voting. And, we'll see how that ends. It's July the 17th, so you've got till the 31st to vote. And that's when the poll will close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on that day. And then we will have, hopefully, unless it ends up in a tie, we'll have the date that, or the day, rather, that we're going to do our fun races. So make sure you go and vote in that poll. And I'm going to stop right there.
Excellent. So, like I said, make sure you head over there. We want to get these races in, hopefully in August. August is turning out to be a busy month for me when it comes to some of my on-the-road time, but a lot of it doesn't look like it's going to be, well, I guess it depends on when the race actually is going to be. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff that I'm going to be out of the office during the week, but we'll find a day and make it fit in there. So glad to see you guys are heading over there and voting in that, and we're getting a lot of great feedback, and a lot of people are excited for that. We've also got some feedback on a side note on our suggestion about starting up a league. Several people have gotten back to us on that, so we'll see. Keep letting us know if you haven't let us know already, if that's something you'd be interested in. We talked about it last week on the show, kind of having a league dedicated around this show and listeners kind of thing, so we can have you guys can have a a way to interact with each other and with us, and like we're saying, kind of a fun, safe place to kind of learn the oval side and the road side, or whichever side you're not used to, and kind of doing an alternating thing is our idea. Just in the initial planning stages, nothing immediate, but if you haven't let us know if that's something that interests you, definitely let us know. But for the fun races, we are going to, as we mentioned, just to remind everybody what the scope is going to be. We're going to be racing in the street stocks at the large Charlotte Oval, and that's going to be for 50 laps. And we're going to be racing in the Spec Racer Ford at Okayama, and that's going to be a 30-minute timed race. We're going to have several. What did we agree on the amount of resets?
2 each race.
All right, so two each reset race for you. Good.
Go fast.
Go fast, no crash. Crash bad.
Turn left, occasionally right.
So 2 resets for each of those races, and then we're going to have yellows on for the oval, and then just local yellows for the road race. So that seems to have been acceptable to everybody. So hopefully that's going to be a fun time once we get it all planned out. Hopefully sometime in August. But speaking more about something that's happening more immediately, Chad, what's coming on this weekend? Like starting tomorrow.
It's the iRacing Indy 500 Take 2 and action. Yeah, hopefully this one will actually go off, unlike the last one back in May. But yeah, that is this weekend, July 18th, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, start time, or 0000 GMT, Saturday.
Really?
And of course,
is it midnight GMT? Wow.
I guess so, on Saturday.
Those poor people across the pond.
Yeah, I know. And July 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 GMT, Saturday. Details about the race can, of course, be found on the members' website press page. Or, of course, there's a little write-up on the iRacerstuff.com website, and it's probably in the forum somewhere on iRacing as well. And I say probably, and I'm going to change that too. It is there. But I am going to be racing in this tomorrow on July 18th. And I believe that I'm going to, provided that the race goes off, and they seem pretty confident about this happening. But I'm going to stream it on Twitch just to kind of break in the Twitch channel, so to speak. And
I don't think it's like a car. I don't think you actually have to like wear the parts in order to get it to work.
Yeah, it's that new car smell. So I figured I'd do that because one of the reasons that I'm going to do that is with Twitch, and the way that Twitch kind of works is that you can search by games, and of course you can search by iRacing. And so my stream will automatically show up in the iRacing stream, or section of where people are streaming. And even though I'm sure there's going to be like 50 people, streaming their indie race, I figured I might get a little bit more exposure with it being a bigger deal, and not really have streaming much before on Twitch. So 2 things come out of that. A, I get a little bit of exposure for my streaming, and B, I've changed the overlay on my stream to now include our show logo and the website. So hopefully that our show will get a little bit of exposure there as well. And we'll see how that goes. My goal is to finish the race. Kurt Busch it. If I finish 6th, then I'm happy.
That's a good goal with that. From my side of the house, I'm going to attempt to do the one on Saturday afternoon instead, so a different one than Chad, because Friday evening is kind of booked up for me already with family business, and the Saturday race is it's a 50-50 shot. I've got family coming in from out of town, so it kind of depends on when they show up. If it was just my dad coming up, then I bet you he would just pull up a chair behind me and just watch me race the entire race and be completely entertained. However, it's also other people that are coming up as well. So if they are here, I will likely not be able to escape for like 4 hours down in my basement. But if they're not here, then the intention is for me to race on the Saturday race, and I'll be streaming that as well on, I don't know, Hulu, something else. I mean, just to be different. I mean...
Hulu?
I'll probably
Can you even stream to Hulu?
I'll stream that on my YouTube channel. I do have a Twitch channel set up as well, but I haven't done any playing with that at all whatsoever. So I'll stick to what I know and what I know I can actually make work. So if I am doing it, I'll send a tweet out to let everybody know that I'm going to be making the race, and I'll send out a link to my channel so you can watch it over there. So hopefully that all works out, because I'm looking forward to it. Because I was looking forward to it last time, as everybody knows, and that ended in bitter disappointment on all levels for myself, and then became something magical for the entire team. So lemons, lemonade, all that good stuff. But
I like lemonade.
who doesn't like lemonade? What I like is I like half and half, like that Arnold Palmer half and half thing, which is half lemonade and half sweet tea or iced tea, I guess.
Yeah.
That's really tasty stuff. So that's what I like.
Gotta get you an Armor Parma. Wow, I can't even talk.
Armor Palmer. I gotta get myself an Armor Palmer. So,
one of my favorite golfers, and I can't even say his name.
So anyway, hopefully that works out, that I can actually do that race. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Side note that Chad actually brought to my attention, because I have actually done some practice for the actual race, and I had neglected to realize that qualifying ended today, I think it was. So
Yes.
I didn't lay down a qualifying lap, which would have put. I mean, you can still race, but you're going to be kind of lumped at the bottom with all the people who didn't qualify. But fortunately, it looks like they've actually taken the qualifying times that you did for the original iRacing 500 way back in May, and they've saved those times. So those times are still there and still valid. So if you had put down a qualifying time last time, never got to race, obviously, then those times are still there. So if you forgot to qualify, your old time is still there. So you will still be able to grid by qualifying time based on your old time. So that was good to know. I had no idea. I found that out just before we went live. It's like, man, I forgot to qualify. Chad's all like, no, man, they got you. It's cool. So
Yeah, they got you back.
they got my back, man.
Yeah, and I'll have a tweet going out too about my stream with a link so you guys know. But also, I am qualified 117th out of I think 946 people.
Nice.
So if all of the 116 people ahead of me show up, then that'll put me about mid-pack in split 4 or so. So, but of course, there's no guarantee all those people will show up. But so what I kind of hope is, if I'm going to get to the third split, because people don't show up, I want enough people to show up that I'm not starting like last in the third split, so that I can move up closer. Like even if I'm like 20th, that's okay.
Wouldn't you rather start like kind of? I mean, because if you're at the very back of the pack, I mean, I know it's not your style, but based on how these races kind of go, wouldn't you just kind of want to be hanging at the back and then just let the pack get away from you a little bit until you realize whether or not they're all going to crash in turn one?
That's true. I could. Well, I know there's going to be people crashing on restarts. Restarts, FYI, if you listen to this show before you do the races this weekend, be gentle on those restarts. It is single file, but it's very tricky you can't just slam the throttle down unless you're just a top-notch professional. You can't just slam the throttle down in this Indy car on the front straightaway at Indy and expect to just head off into turn one all happy and glory. You're probably good chance you're going to wipe out if you do that. So be very easy on the throttle on restarts. Just a little tip. Yeah, that actually might not be a bad idea now that the more I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you'd want to be right at the front or right at the back, but in the middle just seems like a nightmare.
So I'm hoping that, I have the 116 in front of me, some of them skip out. At least on Friday.
Indeed. So, moving right along, which is different than saying, so anyway, what was it? Was it so anyways?
So anyways.
Yeah. So anyways, thumpity thump thump thump. Want to mention that we also have Scott Feldhausen, who's been brought up on the show before. There's 2 items here. One is
Who's
the fact.
that?
What's that? Oh, who's that? You're funny. has been working on his own on a iRacing Today radio show app for Android and Apple, and it's kind of a it shows up with the screen. It has the link to our YouTube channels and the our Twitter pages, and a link to the show and stuff like that and whatnot. So he's been kind of doing that in his own on his own time. So that's pretty cool. So if that gets done, then we will show you. We'll send off links and we'll let you guys know about it in case you want to throw even more of our content on your iPhones and Android devices. Other than just our voice, you can have an app with our logo and buttons to push that will take you to places and things. And who doesn't want that?
For real.
For real. Scott, who
he actually did. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I was just gonna say he actually did. Just let me talk.
Okay,
man.
no, but wait.
He let us. He did let us see a little preview there. Me and Trevor.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. I played around with it a little bit, so it's a very nice app, and hopefully, everyone out there will enjoy it whenever we get it into your hands.
Indeed. Now, a second item that I wanted to bring up about Scott, who is apparently watching the live feed on Netflix.com, has mentioned he sent a tweet saying that apparently it's great that that I have got a black carbon steel pop filter just like Cadillac. Now I want to be clear on this. You just couldn't see my microphone before. When Chad got his microphone and his equipment to do the show, he asked me, and I told him what to get based on what I already had. So I am the person who had the black carbon steel pop filter first. Chad is the follower, not the leader in this situation. When it comes to
Mine's plastic.
When it comes to racing ability, when it comes to coming first on race day, yes, Chad beats me on a regular basis. When it comes to podcasting and audio stuff and things like that, that's me. I'm the audio visual guy. I'm the guy who selects the equipment. I can see you shaking your head. I'm the innovator. I'm like Tommy Dreamer. I'm the innovator of violence, except for it's podcasting. And I'm not really the innovator of podcasting so much as everybody else has done it before me, and I just followed what they did. I'm the innovator of podcasting on this show. All right. Listen. Hey, it can't be the show unless I'm going out and somehow calling out a wrestler. I mean, I've already challenged Daniel Bryan to a beard off here, so I'm not going to challenge Tommy Dreamer because dude's whack. But but anyway, so
I don't want to mess with him.
I wouldn't. I mean, dude's a maniac, man. Great to watch, but man, I wouldn't want to be meet him in a dark alley if he was mad at me. But anyway, so I just want to bring that up. So I am done. You may continue now, sir.
Okay. Speaking of streaming, just a small, little stream mention. Well, it's not really that little.
That's how you're going to start that? A small little stream mention. Oh, Andy.
How would you like for me to start? Hey, you're the expert. Why don't you take over?
Because it says Chad does in the show notes.
Well, I can change it real quick. But our teammate and friend, Andy Small, who we had on the show, is going to do a super stream, as he's calling it. And apparently he's going to go for 8 hours, which, yeah.
That's a lot of streaming.
Like a full work day. That's like a full work day. But anyways, I'll probably join some during this. Larry might join some as well. But anyways, he's planning on doing a few different things in his racing, and I think he said he's going to start about 7 p.m. Eastern time on his Twitch team. Go team! On his channel, which is SimRacer02. So if you're really, 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 really interested in watching 8 hours straight of footage, there's your man.
7 p.m. Is that what it is?
Eastern.
Man, so that's like 8, 9,
That's like
10,
3,
11,
3
12, 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of racing.
I know. So it'll be fun though. He really enjoys doing those streams. I watched the stream he did the other night and he won the race. That's the thing. Here's our annual not annual, but weekly call out on Andy. you and I have been streaming. You started this, then I followed, then Andy eventually came
Yep.
into the streaming business. And you and I have been streaming since what, May, beginning of May for you, end of May for me. He's been streaming for like a couple weeks, and he's already won two races
I,
during his streams, and
yeah,
we have nothing.
yeah, like two races. Like, I mean, we all win races, other than me. But but the fact that like he got it caught live on tape, like it's not just, hey, look at my
Yeah,
results. It's like, hey, no,
yeah,
no, watch me do it.
yeah. And like, what the heck? That's not fair.
Yeah, well, I'm
I
used
think
to
you
it.
should fire him.
I don't know. I mean, I think he'd leave, man, if I did. If I let him.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
he's already got a resume built up. It's like, hey, how good am I as a racer? Check this out
I've won two races, and I got videotaped.
to prove it.
So week 13 is back again
It is. Well, it's not.
next week.
Yeah, I say it's not really back yet.
Next week. And there's all kinds of goodies apparently that are coming up. And this is the one thing that I like about this thing. And this is the only thing that I got out of all of this when I first saw this press on the press page. The Nationwide Ford Mustang and the Chevrolet Camaro and 50 lap races at the updated Phoenix Raceway.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
All right. Well, moving right along.
No, that's not the only thing racing, but I did thought that was pretty cool because they'd been kind of saying we don't know when these are coming out, but we think it might be season 3, but we're not sure. And there you go,
hmm
season 3. And Donington Raceway Park is just below that too. So our park racing circuit might be. So that's coming out as well, obviously because they wouldn't be having races there.
Did you just say my B?
Yeah.
Is that what the cool kids call or say instead of saying my bad? Now is that am I behind the times?
Yes, apparently you are.
Yo, my B, man. I'm sorry.
Home skillet was shaking in the hood. Anyways, okay. But they're obviously the week 13 popcorn sales, as I mentioned, go up a lot.
hmm
But they do a lot of fun racing stuff where iRating and safety rating don't count. And then they do a lot of stuff where it actually does, so that you have a last chance to get your mostly your safety rating up to a certain point where you might be able to advance your license for the upcoming season and drive some new series slash new content. So we're not going to read through all of this because there's actually quite a lot going on in week 13.
There
But if you
is.
go to the press page, you can read all of it. And yeah, we just told you the goodies stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do have, and I think this is the most I remember them having, but they have 6 of their 24 hours of fun series, which are basically just that. They're just fun series, safety rating, I rating doesn't count, whatnot. And normally they have like 3, like 3 or 4 kind of thing, but they have 6 this time. So there's a whole bunch of choices you're going to have for that. And the fun races, you know what? It's one of those things. It's like the Carb Cup. I mean, sure, take it seriously and don't be a jerk, but don't get stressed out over it too. Just go in there and have fun. Like, I mean, the one that caught my eye is they're going to have 46 car fields of now they say of the MX the Mazda MX-5, the Cup and the Roadster, the Solstice, the Legends, the 34 Legends, Spec Racer Fords at Laguna Seca. Do they mean that it's going to be like they can't do that multi-class? I think they're going to rotate those cars through. Are they not?
Yeah, it would appear
Well,
that
no, actually, it
way.
says guaranteed to put the mixed and mixed class sim racing. So maybe they're going to have all
Yeah.
of those cars on. Man, why does that have to be Laguna Seca? Man, why couldn't it be like, Okayama or another course that I know well? But Laguna Seca is one of those courses I have yet to
Huh.
tackle and learn well. But that sounds like
I might,
a blast.
I might have to stream that.
Yeah, that's what. Maybe this is the week to really step up on the streaming because you know what,
Yeah.
it's not going to present a good representation of what the simulation is and capable of. But what it is going to do is it's going to show you how entertaining it can be at times.
Exactly. And that in itself will be extremely entertaining.
I agree. So that
So,
about does it for the news this week, and we will move
Spec
in.
Racer at Irvindale Speedway Figure 8. There we go. That's what's up.
No, man, we've talked about that. Like I went there in the figure. I didn't even know where I was supposed to be. That course is
Just make an
confusing.
8.
You'd think, but man, there's
Yeah, I know.
cones at random around that place. I was driving through the grandstands or something trying to find the course, man. I didn't know what was happening.
How do you drive through grandstands?
I'm special.
Yeah, well, apparently so.
Uh,
Uh,
so that's it for the news. We're going to move into our experiences for the week. And Chad, I will let you start because that's how I roll. What'd you do this week,
uh,
man? You did some racing? Going in circles? A little
not
bit of right
really.
lefty? A little bit of right lefty?
Um, I did my first stream on Twitch was a Carburetor Cup race, which was actually one of the best Carburetor Cup races I've ever been in. It was like extremely clean. Everybody in there was really friendly. I guess they just all knew each other. But so that was pretty fun. But you can watch that on Twitch if you so desire.
Cool.
But I'm not going to talk about that because it's Carburetor Cup.
Yeah.
The Ars Hero was off, so which is I think our last off week of the season, which means we gotta get up on the wheel the rest of the week or week. Yeah,
The rest of the week, they're gonna have
rest
the
of the
entire. They're gonna
year.
have the entire season. Is gonna finish out this week, right into the
Yep.
chase into the weekend, man. It's just bam, bang, bang.
Woo!
You got a family life?
So,
Don't care. Race now.
yep. Yeah. Get behind the wheel for the rest of the season. But we do go to Indianapolis on Monday, which personal thing here. I'm glad that tomorrow is the Indy 500, at least the one that I'm doing, um, because that will give me essentially 3 days before I'm back on racing again, at least seriously. Um, and the RCRL, because with the RCRL being at Indianapolis on Monday, and then me being at Indianapolis tomorrow, I'm going to be driving an average of like 230 miles an hour tomorrow. And then I'm going to drive a car where it's going to feel like I'm barely even moving on Monday. And I'm one of those people with the seat and everything else, the three screens and all that, that I kind of have that sense of speed um, that I feel when I'm driving certain cars. And the Indy car is definitely one of those cars where I get that sense of speed because of the ridiculous speeds that it carries.
Right.
And then, so if I was doing the Indy 500 and then like immediately, like the next day, went and did the Cup car at Indianapolis, I would be horrible in the Cup car because I would feel so ridiculously slow. And like my mind would be confused about, I'd have to like either barely tap the brakes or hit the brakes really hard or let off the throttle, like whereas in the IndyCar, I'm just like wide open all the way around unless, somebody's right in front of me.
Right.
And, it's like that would throw me off. So I'm glad I get a few days to kind of get the IndyCar out of my system and then turn and focus on the Cup car on Monday. So, and more than likely on Monday, I'll be back to streaming on YouTube for the RCRL stuff. But of course, there'll be a link. So all of you that care to watch will just have to click a button and yeah, that'll be it.
Right.
But other than that, I really didn't do any racing except just practicing for the Indy 500 and getting my qual time a little bit better. So that's really all I've done.
Ah, I see. See, I did a little bit of practice with the IndyCar. Just remember, I actually got in the car and I couldn't, and I was driving around. I knew I was in engine map one, like we discussed about before the first try at the Indy 500. So we'd set up our wheels, and me and you had talked things over, and you'd give me some suggestions on buttons to hook my to change things around and whatnot. And I'm on the track. Knew I was in engine mapping one. Knew I didn't want to be because I wanted to practice race laps and could not remember the button I used to look down. I couldn't remember the button I used to change the setting. So I'm sitting there driving down 230 miles an hour down the front stretch. Okay, it's like, okay, I'm on a straight stretch. It's like, okay, hit this button, hit this button, hit this button, hit this button. Nope, nope, no. Okay, turn. Yeah. Now the smart thing to do, because I was just in a test session. I wasn't even in an open practice session. I should have just stopped and then just figured it out. But I figured I could do it on the road. I never did figure it out until I actually did start the or stop the car to figure all that stuff out. But anyway, I did some laps there. Forgot to qualify, as I mentioned. So there's that. But what I did do racing wise, and this was kind of a promise that I had set out, I'd mentioned on Twitter and I think on the show last week, the fact that Road America, no, Road Atlanta, is a course that I have never liked. And when we talked about it during the track of the week, I kind of spoke poorly of it because it's not a course I enjoy. It's not a course I like. Much like a Spec Racer Ford and the Jetta in the past. So it's like, you know what? The Jetta, who I've learned to like now, is at Road Atlanta. So, you know what? Perfect storm. I'm going to learn to like this course, or at least learn to drive it. So I committed to that. And I did. I did some practice laps earlier in the week. I don't remember when I got this race in. I did stream it, so you can watch it.
I think it was Sunday.
Yeah, that's maybe. I don't know. I don't even know what today is. So
I think it's Thursday.
Okay.
That's the rumor.
Yay. Because we normally do the show, so that seems about right. So I did some practice laps, got comfortable enough to get out on the track with other racers and stuff. Jumped in. Yeah, it was Sunday night because it was my last chance to actually get a race in. Because, obviously I get home from work too late on Monday in order to actually make a race. So I jumped in, and when I was doing my practicing, it's funny because the section of track that I always had trouble with, the reason why I hated this course, quote unquote hated, I mean, I didn't like it, was that uphill chicane thing that kind of goes up over the hill and then leads down. It's turns 2, 3, 4, I think it is. I could never figure it out for the life of me. So I focused a lot of time on figuring out getting through there. I wasn't getting through there, the fastest of all the people, but I was getting through there without going in the dirt, which is what I always did before, or spinning out. Ironically, it ended up being turn 1 where I had the biggest amount of struggle, because you can carry a lot of speed through there, but I kept finding a line. Wherever the line is, I kept jumping on either side of it. I was either on carrying too much speed and ending up on the dirt on the exit of turn 1, or I was getting too much wheel into it and losing the rear end and spinning out coming out of turn 1. That's where I struggled the most, but I practiced and practiced, and I felt good enough to get on the track with other cars. Now, here's where there was some good and there was some bad. Because I didn't qualify, I ended up behind all the guys that qualified, but I ended up ahead of all of the other classes of cars that did qualify, which would be the Mazda and the Solstice, because I'm quote unquote the faster of the cars, which I'm not. So here's the first thing that went wrong, and here's rookie tip number 1. Don't do what I did at the beginning of this race. If you watch the stream, you'll see exactly what I did. I even commentated it as I was doing it. Still did it. Commented it while it was happening, and then berated myself for what I had just done. Now, what I did was, as we're coming through the end of the pace lap, we're coming down the front stretch, I knew that I had to be careful when I was going around turn 1 because I had struggled there. What I did was the fact that the slower class car, quote unquote, behind me, I don't know if it was a Solstice or a Mazda, he was right on my bumper. As we're getting up to speed, he's right on my bumper. Now, that was partially my own fault because I had messed up the pace lap, and I had let the guys ahead of me get a little bit too far, so the gap was too big. I should have been closer than I was. So he was probably saying, "Yeah, why aren't you going, you jerk?" is my guess, is what was going on in this car, because I wasn't close enough. And then they took off sooner than I expected them to, so now it's like, oh crap, now I'm really far behind. So he was right on my bumper, right on my bumper, right on my bumper. So I fell through one of the classic rookie mistakes, and that is the fact that because he was right on my bumper, I paid no attention to what I knew was my proper line, what I knew was my proper braking point, what I knew I should have been doing, and instead took way too much speed because I didn't want him to run me over. Don't do that. I mean, race your race. Even if he did hit me, it would have been a mild contact, whatever. Because he was square on my bumper. But instead of slowing down like I should have, way too much speed, ended up off in the dirt. He sailed through, ended up crashing. Well, I did some damage to the car. It wasn't meatball or anything, but it was definitely the toe was out. So I had to, after the just after the start of the race, already damaged my car, limped around back to the pits because I made a stupid mistake. Let that guy dictate my lines instead of me dictating what my line should have been. So, mistake on my behalf. Fortunately, you get a reset in the GTC. So I turned off the gas, turned off the tires, and went in there, stopped. 2 seconds later, new car, go. Now I'm in open air. Now we're in good shape. Now I get a chance to actually do some laps. And ended up, weird experience for me, catching another car. It was one of the slower class cars. I don't remember if it was a Solstice or a Mazda. I think it was a Mazda, if I remember. Unimportant. Ended up catching him as I'm going through through the laps. Now, here's where this ties into my rookie tip, I guess, to a degree. I'm in a unique situation now. I'm approaching a slower car. I am, have a brand new car. I'm not damaged anymore because I got the reset. I followed him and tried to pass him safely. Now, the difference in speed in these cars isn't super great. And because I'm not an awesome driver at the road racing, everybody knows I'm struggling to try to learn. I'm attempting to become better is where we're at. So because I couldn't carry a lot of speed, like I wasn't expertly hitting all my apexes, I wasn't carrying a ton of speed to the straight stretches to cruise on by him. So I took a cautious approach. But the problem is, and this isn't a me calling a guy out situation. This is here's what I felt should have happened. He's obviously the slower car. He should have given me the line. So we ended up coming around turn 1. I was right with him, coming up the front stretch towards turn 1, but he maintained the normal racing line. Now, we've talked about in the past, a good idea for a lap car is to be predictable, which is good for oval driving, not as good for road racing. Now, not a road racing expert, obviously, but the fact that he maintained his exact driving line meant I had to go offline to pass him. So I made an attempt, ended up getting myself in a really bad spot, backed off, gave him the corner. We went through the chicane going around, and I had to kind of almost force the situation going into the corner, the right-hander that goes after the long straight stretch when you get to the bottom of that hill, and kind of go back up a hill. You go down a hill, then back up a hill, and you end up with a straight stretch leading to a double right-handed turn. I had to force my kind of way in there because he would not give me the line into the corner. And I spoke about it when I was actually doing the race, is the fact that, you know what? Okay, I'm not the best car out there, but he should have just backed off enough to give me the line into the corner. He was predictable. I knew where he was going to be because he was in the racing line. But that's not where he should have been. And I just whacked my microphone again. I don't know what to do with my hands. Anyway. So I ended up getting around him safely, and everything worked out fine. But it kind of called out a situation where I think he should have behaved differently. Again, everybody's free to do what they want, but I felt he should do it differently. So we ended up in a situation a few laps later where the leader of the race, another Jetta, was coming up on me. Obviously, I'm way behind because I had to pull in the pits, get a new car, all that good stuff. So he was coming up on me, and I was kind of talking through the situation there as well, which is why I enjoy streaming. Because you know what? There's always a constant conversation happening in my head while I'm video gaming or racing or doing anything. So I might as well be saying it out loud because half the time I do anyway, so I might as well capture it on video. So I'm talking through the situation, and I'm watching him coming up on me. And then I waited till we got to a safe situation, nice long straight stretch. There's a few of them out road Atlanta, and backed off just enough so that I knew he would get to the corner at a point where he could take his normal line to the corner, and then I could follow him through. He passed me. I barely lost any speed at all. He managed to maintain his speed. A very good example of how to allow a faster car past you and not really lose any time. Like, all I did was just back off just enough, because I kind of gauged where the corner was coming, so I knew he could have his normal line through there. Everything's great. We both made it through nice and smooth. Good example of how to be a slow car in a road race. Unfortunately, second, third, and fourth weren't that far behind. So about a lap later, I fell into the trap that we talked about of staring into my F3 screen. I'm watching them It's like, okay, they're close, they're close, they're close, they're close. And I'm planning where I'm going to let them by. Do the same thing I did with the leader. But they started catching me a little close to as we're coming up through the straight stretch on the front stretch again, and we're getting into turn one. And in my mind, I'm thinking I have to hit this turn 1, 2, 3, 4 perfectly, because I know after this I can hit a straight stretch, move out of the way, everything will be great. I should have maybe moved out of the way earlier because I had an opportunity to. They hadn't caught me yet, but I was planning so far ahead that I was thinking I have to do this right so they'll catch me when I want them to, rather than just racing my race and letting it kind of figure its way out and moving when I had to. So I ended up blowing that set of corners, came out of turn 1 horrible, spinning out of the dirt, killed the car, and because I wasn't, I was planning too far ahead and not where I was at the time. So that was a good example of how not to let faster cars get ahead of you. Ended up smashing the car, limped it back around to pit road. Had a great moment. If you want to watch how Trevor can lose his mind, get confused, and what I might be like if I had dementia, perhaps. Because I thought it was a 25-lap race. It's not. It's a 25-minute race. So when I got back to the pits, it's like lap 13 or something like that. It's like, okay, we got lots of laps left. Okay, I'll repair the car, maybe do some more laps, whatever, because I had like 2 minutes of required and 8 minutes of optional. And I'm looking, and it's like, and the laps counter, it's like, and all of a sudden it's like 34 seconds left in the race. It's like, and it counts down, and then it goes to 0, starts counting down from 2 minutes again. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. The white flag comes out. It's like, is this my last? I don't even know. And I'm talking like an idiot, not realizing the fact that it was a timed race and the time had ended, because I'm still waiting for another 12 laps in this thing. It's like, so anyway, I figured it out eventually afterwards. So for those who were worried about my mental stability, I did realize what I'd done after I turned off the cameras. So ended up once I got the car repaired enough, I went out and did one last lap. I was the only car out there. It's like, I'm going to finish my last lap. So I finished it, and I don't even know where I finished. I lost iRating. I lost safety rating. Had a good experience, but I showed a good example of, here's a lap car not doing what he should do, or a slower car not doing what he should do. Here's me doing what I should do, and here's me being an idiot and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to drive this corner really, really fast in front of the leaders because I'm being helpful. So that kind of ties into that. That's our rookie tip for the week: is do what I did when I was doing good. Don't focus so much on the cars passing you that so much that you make a mistake right in front of them. Luckily, I spun off track and not across the track when I spun out and killed my car. But it was all because I was focusing too much on what I was going to do a few corners down the road, that I had to do this now. I should have just raced it as normal, wait for them to catch me, and then find a safe place to let them by me, rather than saying, I'm going to let them by me right here, 3 corners down the road. So let's worry about So don't do that. Focus on the moment, not focus on if you can do this perfect so you can get things happening the way you think they should happen in an imaginary world where you're a good racer. You're a good racer, Trevor, and you can handle this situation. So that was my racing experience for the week.
And you don't even know where you finished? I'm disappointed.
I don't. I mean, I finished last of the Jetta. There's only 3 Jettas in the race, and I definitely finished third in those. But I wasn't the last car, because there was other cars who had smashed themselves up and given up. So I didn't finish dead last. I know that much. But I know I lost iRating and I lost safety rating. So, B license, here I come.
Well, there you go. I watched the beginning of that stream, and I saw not just now, but like when you were live. And it's actually funny because in my mind, I was watching you go into that first turn, and then that whatever car was behind you, who was like right on your bumper, and it really was on your bumper. And I was like, wonder how this is going to work out, because I could kind of like tell that you were like nervous about it. You're like watching him, and you're watching the road, and you're watching him, and you're watching the road. And I was like, he's going to miss the turn. And I was like, Trevor. And I was like, quit worrying about him. And then, sure enough, like 1 second later, you're on the grass.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, nice job.
Hey, you know what? I'm trying. I'm trying, So, I mean, you can't fault me for attempting to better myself as a racer, even if it ends up poorly sometimes. Although I will say that I did learn to enjoy a lot of the nuances of that course because there are some corners in there. Once I figured out that part that I hated so much, there were definitely some corners that I actually really enjoyed going through. Like I said, that double right-hander after that straight stretch is a lot of fun because you can carry a lot of speed through there. Like you just kind of bleed off just enough, and then you kind of gun it, and you end up just you're skirting on the outside, but then you have to slow down a lot more to make the next corner. There's a lot of fun corners on that course, so I actually did learn to enjoy that course a lot more. So I'm guessing the same thing will probably be said for Laguna Seca, because the only reason why I hate that course is that one corner where they have that big sharp turn at the top of the hill that I could never figure out. So I'm sure if I spent the time to learn how to do that properly, I'd probably learn to like that track too.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed Red Atlanta. I don't know, it's different kind of a road course, so I like it
Hmm.
a lot. No, maybe not a lot, but I do like it.
But I guess one thing before I leave this, obviously I mentioned I streamed that on my channel, and that's over at Ratface Productions, 2 T's, RATTFACE, over on YouTube. I've promised last week, or I mentioned last week, that I was attempting to do some different video projects and stuff dealing with other things in the video game industry, and I did my first one of the ideas that came to me. I produced the first video in that series this past week, and that's up there for you to watch. It's called The First 29, so you can go check out the first episode of that, and that's basically given the premise that you only get one chance, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And what I've done is I'm going to be taking games I've never played before that I own because I'm a video game pack rat, and I go and basically start up the game, start a 20-minute timer or 29-minute timer, and give it 29 minutes, regardless of what's happening, if it's tutorializing, if it's doing whatever. I just run it beforehand to make sure it runs, the settings are right, and then I go give it 29 minutes in order to make an impression on me, and so I can decide whether or not it's a game I want to play, or if what does it do in that first bit to grab you is kind of the idea. So I did the first one of those. I did it with a game called Dust and Elysian Tale. So anyway, go check that out on my channel. That's the amount of self-promotion I'm going to do for this week. And I've got a couple other ideas for some other shows I'm going to be hopefully producing the next week or so here, because you know what? I'm not busy enough getting this 13 camera shoot thing figured out. I'm going to try to do more things. So I've got a couple other ideas in the hopper that I'm going to try to bring about in the next couple weeks here. So keep an eye out for that. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and all that. And keep an eye on my YouTube channel for that stuff as well. So anyway, move back to iRacing stuff.
I'm over here having a conversation with people on the Twitch chat.
Why, dude? This is an audio.
I'm listening.
This is an audio podcast. This isn't about the video.
We interact with fans.
We are a multimedia empire, is what you're saying, and we operate on all channels.
Yes.
Excellent.
So I'm just hanging out with Recon 40 over here. We're having a good old chat.
Okay.
Talking about Spa.
Is the chat about hey, is that Trevor guy stop talking now about how he's a bad road racer? Because
Yes. No, we were talking about what you were talking about. Anyways, how about we talk about the Skippy car?
Yes, let us do that. And I know you. We both raced the car. You actually went out of your way to do a little bit of racing in it, or a little, some laps in it recently to kind of get a feel for it. I haven't. I actually. This is the car that I think, if I go back through my stats, that I did a lot of my work on to get my safety rating and stuff ready, so I could get my my A license. I did a lot of those laps were in the Skippy. Now that was back before they've done some changes to the tire model and whatnot, obviously. But I did spend a lot of time in it. It's I guess it's easy to find out or to realize why it's one of the training cars when it comes to road racing, because the way it handles and whatnot. So So what do you got to say about the Skippy here?
Well, um, what you just said, I think is the perfect thing about it. Kind of a good training car. Because when I was practicing with it the other night, then the whole reason behind it was my friend Greg, who I mentioned before, was on and he was goofing off, and he said that he had taken the Skippy to road Circuit of the Americas and just was talking about how it was so much fun. And I was like, well, let's go try it. And I was like, I've never driven, Circuit of the Americas, so I have no idea where I'm going.
Hmm.
Literally had no idea where I was going. I'm not making that up. Um, and once I, figured everything out, I went and we actually we had some, and we usually do when we get into a car track combo where we're just on goofing off.
Hmm.
We had a lot of fun, and it's kind of like that's why I was saying training is a good word because you can spin that car out, if you try pretty
Right.
quickly. But you also can, um, man, you can really kind of race that thing, and push it, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I we had some fun battling back and forth. We also wrecked each other a few times, which is always fun. Um, but I mean, the Skippy car is pretty good, and like you were saying, it's a good little learning training car, and I'm pretty sure it runs in Class D. Um, but it's an open wheel car as well, in case you don't know and not familiar with it, which is a little more tricky than those cars that have fenders on them.
Yep.
Uh, but it's still fun, and the top speed is 135 miles an hour. So I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of how you're not really you're not really going that fast, so to speak. So this is a
Relatively
very
speaking, when it comes to race
yeah,
cars,
exactly. You're not going 230 in an Indy car. It doesn't have a whole lot of horsepower, and so I mean it's got a four-cylinder engine, so it's actually I used the phrase with Greg, and this is a slight exaggeration, but I told him I was like, it's like driving a giant go-kart
Hmm.
that is in an Indy form because that's just what it felt like to me.
I
But
could see that.
yeah, so I love racing this car, and actually it almost made me want to go do a race this week, but I've been really busy this week, so it's been hard to step away from life and of course the show and focus on driving. But and now with the Indy race tomorrow, I won't be able to do that. But I'll probably do some Skippy racing here soon,
Yeah,
like actual
and
racing.
yeah, I've. It's one of those cars I have gone back to a few times because, like I said, it reminds me of kind of the experience, like you're saying, with the kind of what I found with the Jetta was the fact that I could push it a little bit. Although you can't do the Skippy isn't as forgiving, I guess, to my club fisted method of driving a vehicle. Because I mean, you can spin this guy out a lot better, a lot easier than you can the Jetta. But because of the slow, the lower horsepower, the slower speeds, you can use it to learn, of course, because you have more time to react. You have more time to think about what's going on around you. So it's like I said, it becomes pretty obvious why it's used in the a lot of the schooling when it comes to learning. It is a D class car, like Chad mentioned. So, and it's a cool car to kind of drive around because up to this point, at least considering your iRacing career, so to speak, because it's very likely going to be, as you go up the ranks, your first open wheeled car that you're going to experience as you gain license levels through the sim. And driving an open wheel car it's a lot different, obviously, than driving, a stock type car because it seems silly to say, but I mean, the fact that because it's on a computer screen and it's virtual and whatnot, but it brings together not a sense of fear, but a sense of speed, that sense of racing is a dangerous sport because your virtual helmet is out in the air. I mean, that probably sounds silly to say, but when you're racing this car, you feel exposed almost. And like I said, obviously there's a lot of other open wheel cars in iRacing, but it's the first one you're probably going to find, and that, or it's obviously it's the first one I ever raced. when I was moving up through the sim, and I found it became such a different experience racing this car compared to the other cars, because it was the first time that I felt the wind in my hair, so to speak, wind in my helmet, because you got to be safe. But I don't know. It's a cool introduction to what's to come in your iRacing career when it comes to racing road racing stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes to a lot of different tracks too. So you get that opportunity to you're not just racing the free content, so to speak. So you're getting to expand your wings, I guess, on some different tracks. And if you're somebody who really wants to um, go into a full force road racing career on iRacing, that'll help you in the long run. Because we've talked about this, or I have at least talked about this before. I'm a big experience guy. The more experience I believe that you have on certain track types and certain cars, the better you can make yourself in at other tracks or in other cars or truck. Um, I just believe that. That's helped me throughout my career. So I think with the Skippy, being able to go to some of these tracks like Circuit of the Americas would be some of great help to somebody who's trying to race full time in road racing cars, because you familiarize yourself with those tracks. Even if the speed difference is, obviously going to be way different in a Formula One car compared to a Skippy,
right.
but you still are on the track and you learn things about the track. So I like that about this series and the fact that you get to race a combination of different tracks.
True. I mean, and as far as learning a track goes, I mean, it's also the fact, because you're in an open wheel racer and you're in that style of car. I mean, you see a lot more of the track. I mean,
Mhm.
you kind of get to see the nuances of the track as you're learning it, because you're practically racing with your butt on the ground and your head looking at the track right ahead, as opposed to if you're in the Jetta or the Mazda and stuff, and you're higher up and you have the cockpit around you and stuff. So you really get a good feel for I guess it's a good car to go around and kind of see the beauty that is the iRacing simulation and what they do with these tracks. Because you see a lot more of the track while you're driving around in this car, and because you're not driving so fast, you're not missing a lot of those little touches that add so much to the way that they create tracks in the sim as well. So
Yeah, and that actually happened with me at Circuit of the Americas because, like I said, I'd never been there, never driven it, never seen it on TV. Um, I think the only part that I even had ever seen was turn one, where you go up the hill there
hmm.
and then sharp left, and that was it. Um, I So being able to get into the Skippy and go around Circuit of the Americas for the first time, and getting to see that track, more of it at least,
Hmm.
like you just said, that was a really good, really cool experience. And that's actually a very, very pretty track, all
Oh, it
things
is.
considered.
It is for sure.
So I I definitely like racing the Skippy car. And like I remember back when I first got on iRacing, I started off with the oval some, and then I jumped into the road for about a month. And this was one of the cars that I raced was the Skippy, and I raced it at New Hampshire on the road course there. And I gotta say, back then when I first started driving the Skippy, and I know it's had a different tire model and a lot of things have changed since
Right.
then, but because that's 4 years ago now. When I got in the car 4 years ago, it felt like the fastest car on the planet, and I just felt like I was out of control, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is like so much to deal with.
Hmm.
But now it's like I said, it's like a giant go-kart. Like I don't I don't find it hard to drive at all. But that again goes with experience. But it's I think it's a good car the way it is now, to where you can wreck it, but you can also kind of drive the wheels off the car too. Um, I dirt tracked a couple of turns by accident, but so yeah, it's a good training car. I think it's a good car if you're into the roadside to rank up in.
Yep.
You learn some, I don't know, whatever you need to learn.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I used it to get a lot of my safety rating. Like a lot of the time trials and race stuff that I did back when I was getting my license was there. I mean, it's a D-class car, so you're not going to get the minimum participation requirements to move up to the higher levels, but it does give you a chance to hone your craft and kind of work on your, building up your safety rating so you can achieve those higher levels when you do the other cars and stuff as well. And that's kind of the path that I took. So,
Yeah.
and I think I moved from this one up to the Star Mazda, which is a similar car. It's kind of a step between the Skippy and the Indy car kind of thing. It's kind of the in between those two, and that's a fun car to drive. But we'll talk about that another day. So, all right. So, unless there's anything else that you want to bring up, I think we've reached the logical conclusion of our show, Mr. Chad.
I'm ready to go Indy 500 racing, man. Let's bring it on.
Indeed. So keep an eye on our Twitters so you can see when we're going to be on the track this weekend. And if you can catch us streaming, like Chad mentioned, if we're happen to be on, a chance to race while Andy's doing his super stream there on Saturday night, then we'll try to jump into some races with him so we can, get some camera time. I mean, anytime somebody's got a camera
all about
going,
us.
oh yeah, we've got to be out there saying, hey, look at me, look at me. That's what's important to me. That's what this is all about. I told you, I'll tell you all the time, this is a hobby and I'm doing it because it's fun and I'm trying to, kind of raise some awareness of iRacing, but it's really all about me and screen time. That's why I got 32 cameras looking at me now so I can broadcast this out, because I'm a narcissist, really, and I just need to get my face out there whenever and wherever I can. That's,
Just so you know, you're being called a bully because you're not text chatting with us on Twitch.
Well, I don't even have... I already have Okay, here's the thing. I have so many windows open already, I couldn't even bear to have another window open right now, because then my mind would actually be blown, and I couldn't concentrate on anything. I'm having a hard enough time. I feel like I have everything just kind of balanced on this big tray in front of me, and if I move one way too much to one direction, it's all going to fall off and everything's going to fall apart. So, it's a balancing act. This is the first week we're doing it this way. We'll see what I can add to the experience moving forward. This was a test run to see if we could actually do it this way. Now that we know we can, as all smart people do, you've proven that you can do it this. Let's just keep adding steps into the process until you fail. So next week we'll try some different stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something for next week. I have to think on that. I only got this idea this morning on my way to work, so
So really, it's impressive enough that we pulled it together this way, because Chad came up with the idea to do it, a couple things, and I said, well, what if we do this instead? It's like, yeah, okay, well, we can do this. So this all just came together this afternoon. So
yeah, pretty much. So there we go.
But that will about do it for this week. A big thanks to all you out there for listening and watching through, AmazonPrime.com. Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under their podcast sections. And if you head over to iTunes, we'd really appreciate it if you'd give us a review to help us get the word out. Because remember, this is, above all else, an audio podcast. That's how we started. That's where most people obtain this content is through various podcast methods. So let's not lose sight of that as I whack my microphone once again. The show is also available on YouTube, my YouTube channel over at Ratface Productions. That's mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel over at White Knight Productions. It's also apparently now going to be streamed live on his Twitch channel, which is also White Knight Productions over on Twitch. So you can catch, you just can't walk down the street without seeing me and Chad smiling at you and talk about iRacing nowadays. And that's part of our global domination goal, really, is what we're getting at.
Yeah. I mean, we're taking over the world with iRacing.
And you know what? You can also check out the website for information, archives, and links, and the polls you mentioned on the show over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. And, of course, don't forget to vote in that poll and let us know what day you want those fun races to be, so to make sure that your voice is heard and we can accommodate the most people as we can. You can follow show news through Facebook at facebook.com/iRacingTodayRadio and Twitter at twitter.com/iRacingToday for myself and /It'sChadillac for Mr. Chad. Any other websites that we have? Places? Do we have an Instagram?
An Instagram. We should get one.
Get an Instagram.
We'll do that for next week.
I mean, I've got a Vine channel, so I mean, occasionally I put stuff on there. So I mean, I don't even know what that is. It's on my phone. So yeah. And it
6
automatically,
seconds of greatness.
yeah, it automatically goes to my Twitter account. So I don't know. I mean, yeah,
We could record the show on Vine every 6 seconds.
in 6 second chunks.
Yeah.
I don't really think there's
Uh,
a lot of value added in that scenario.
but we would have another way to get the show out there.
True enough.
Uh, but please email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions that you might have to feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. And we still haven't forgotten about that one poll that was suggested to us about which car do you like to drive. We're going to put that up after these fun races are done.
Right.
And of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on the iRacing.com members website. He's Trevor Cameron with no numbers. I'm Chad Dalton with no numbers. That's all you need to know.
Yep.
But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.